Hey, my name is Sharita Costa, and welcome back to the YouTube channel for Dancing with My Mother. If you've been here before, if you haven't been here before, welcome. And before I forget to say it, thank you so much to anyone who has watched videos and liked and subscribed and commented. I really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me. And if you've not been here before, have a good look around. And if you like what you see, I would love you to like and subscribe as well. Anyway, let's get on with this. Now, I wanted to talk about grief. Not a very happy subject, I grant you, but it's something that I am very familiar with, having lost my son in 2020. And I thought that I would just touch on it today and how I have learned to cope with it, if you can actually ever learn to cope with something like that. But grief comes in many forms. As we know, it can be from the loss of a loved one, or it can be from losing a job, or having to move house and it not being something you want to do, just changes in your life, not being with your partner anymore. There's a lot of different ways to experience grief, not just from losing a loved one. So in my case, and I can only talk about it from my point of view, like I always do here, there were a couple of things that helped me. First of all, I was given an analogy about grief being a big bulb in a small pot, and that bulb, all of it, is your grief in this tiny pot with hardly any dirt around it. And it is just taking up that whole pot, like grief does when it hits you so hard, it completely eviscerates you. Over time, though, that bulb, despite the fact that it is just, it's there, it's just huge, and it's taking up your entire life, or the pot in this analogy, it starts to grow things out of it, and it needs to be put in a bigger pot. So that same amount of grief or a bulb goes into a new pot, which is bigger. It's got more soil. And because it's got more room around it, more things start to emerge from the top of that bulb. Now, the bulb size has never changed, but what goes on around it has changed. Things have moved on, right? But the grief hasn't, because it can't. Anyone who thinks that grief is that you can move on past it. All right, again, just speaking for myself, not possible. That really helped me. So I don't know if that's an analogy that works for you, but it certainly touched something in me. But I think the best thing that I heard was a quote from a grief counselor of some reputation, a good reputation. And I heard it in the podcast, and she said, what people grapple with when they lose somebody that they love, particularly to suicide, as was my case, that you will hear people say to you, oh, you'll learn to live with it. No, not going to live with it. I can't live with that. I don't think anybody can. But you can learn to live beside it. These were her words, not mine, so I'm not taking claim for any of it. But to learn to live beside grief, that I can do. It's always there, but life does go on, but that grief comes with you. And it doesn't change, but your life changes. It's a bit like the bulb and the pot. So I think that was very useful. And when anyone asks me how have I coped, I'm now quoting that. I've learned to live beside it. I think in the first couple of years, I didn't really learn to live with it, beside it, or any other way. But it did eventually start to soften. It's always there, that big ball of sorrow. Always. But I can work beside it now and just show up And I think that's been very useful for me. Maybe it's not useful for you, but I hope it was. So that's all I wanted to say to you. And if you are experiencing deep grief, I send you love. And I hope that maybe you'll comment if there's something else that you have found that is useful. And I will see you very soon. I really appreciate you listening to this and watching this. If you could do a bit of a like and subscribe, that'd be great. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.